This is what Napoli did to the man who saved them. But to understand what makes this story so devastating, we have to go back to where it all started. Here's the thing about Victor Osimhen. He was never supposed to struggle. Picture this. Nigeria, 2015. A skinny teenager tears through the Under-17 World Cup like it's nothing. 10 goals. 2 assists. Europe is watching. Scouts are everywhere. Expectations sky high. Osimhen's first move to Europe, Wolfsburg in Germany. Sounds promising. Right? Wrong. He barely saw the pitch. 80 appearances across an entire season. 0 goals in the Bundesliga. 0. The same kid who dominated youth football couldn't buy a goal in professional football. Then came the injuries. A shoulder problem that kept him out for months. Just when he'd start building momentum, his body would break down. Coaches lost faith. Fans forgot his name. Sports journalists who once called him raw. Untapped talent suddenly went quiet. But here's where it gets really brutal. The illness that nearly ended everything. During his time in Belgium with Charleroi, Osimhen battled malaria, a serious setback that stalled his progress even further. Most players would have cracked under that pressure. Most would have given up on the European dream and headed home. The psychological weight of failing, when everyone expects you to succeed, it destroys careers every single day. But something was different about Osimhen's response to rock bottom. Something that would later explain why a simple social media controversy would trigger such an explosive reaction from him. Because when you've been written off and abandoned by the people who were supposed to believe in you, you develop a different relationship with criticism. The transformation didn't happen overnight, but when it did, it was impossible to ignore. By 2019, Osimhen had clawed his way back from rock bottom. First, in Belgium, with Charleroi, suddenly, he couldn't stop scoring. 12 goals in one season, brick wall, if it meant getting on the score sheet. He had scouts frantically updating their reports. This wasn't the struggling kid from Wolfsburg anymore. When Napoli's president, Aurelio De Laurentiis, saw these performances, he made a decision that shocked Italian football. 70 million euros for a player who'd been a Bundesliga flop just 3 years earlier. The Italian media called it madness. Too expensive. Too risky. Too soon. But Napoli weren't buying his past. They were betting on what he had become. His first season in Italy was pure magic. 14 goals, despite injury setbacks. But it was the way he carried himself that caught attention. Every goal celebration felt personal, like he was proving something with every strike. When he scored against Juventus, he ran to the corner flag, roaring and beating his chest like he'd just conquered Rome itself. The Napoli fans saw something special. Here was a striker who didn't just score goals. He embodied their city's fighting spirit. Naples has always been the underdog in Italian football, living in the shadow of Milan and Turin's dominance. In Osimhen, they found someone who understood what it meant to be overlooked and underestimated. By his second season, he was unplayable. The goals kept coming, but more importantly, he was dragging Napoli towards something they hadn't achieved in decades. A real shot at the Serie A title. The same club that hadn't won the league since Diego Maradona was running the show. But with this success came a spotlight that would soon turn scorching hot. The title came in May 2023, and when it did, Naples erupted like Mount Vesuvius itself. 33 years. That's how long Napoli had waited to be champions of Italy again. And there was now lifting the most prestigious trophy in Italian football above his head. The celebrations lasted 4 days. Hundreds of thousands of fans poured into the streets. Fireworks lit up the Bay of Naples until sunrise. Osimhen's face was plastered on murals across the city, right next to Diego Maradona himself. In Naples, that's not just an honor. It's basically sainthood. But here's what nobody anticipated. With that championship came a level of scrutiny that even Osimhen wasn't prepared for. Suddenly, every move was analyzed. Every interview dissected. Every social media post became front-page news across Europe. When you're the star striker who delivered a city's first title in 3 decades, privacy becomes a luxury you can't afford. The pressure intensified during the summer transfer window. Paris Saint-Germain were heavily linked with a move, while Chelsea monitored the situation closely. Reports in Italy suggested figures that could have shattered records. Every day brought new speculation about whether he'd stay or leave Naples. Italian sports shows even dedicated entire segments to analyzing his body language during training sessions. Osimhen's response: he remained relatively quiet, letting his agent handle most of the noise. The public face of things didn't change much, but the spotlight around him only grew heavier. As Napoli's crown jewel, every move, every reaction, every silence started to carry more meaning. Then came the new season, and with it, expectations that were frankly impossible to meet. Napoli were now defending champions. Osimhen wasn't just expected to score goals. He was expected to carry the hopes of an entire city on his shoulders. Every match felt like a referendum on whether lightning could strike twice. The first few games went well enough, but saw us because sometimes it's not what happens on the pitch that defines a player's legacy. It's how the world reacts to what happens next. What happened next exposed something ugly about modern football that nobody wants to talk about. Within minutes of the final whistle, Napoli's social media team posted what they probably thought was harmless content. A short video on TikTok featuring Osimhen's penalty miss, set to dramatic music with exaggerated sound effects. You know the type? The kind of meme content that gets millions of views and makes admin accounts feel clever. But this wasn't just any player. This the same player who had delivered their first title in 33 years just months earlier. And now his own club was turning his worst moment into internet comedy for engagement metrics. The video went viral instantly, but not in the way Napoli expected. Football fans across social media started asking the same question. How can a club mock their own star player like this? Within hours, the post had been shared thousands of times, with most comments absolutely destroying Napoli's social media strategy. Here's where it gets really messy. Osimhen saw it. Of course he saw it. In today's hyper-connected world, you can't miss content that features your face plastered across every football feed on the planet. Imagine delivering a championship to your club, becoming their highest-paid player, carrying their attacking hopes on your shoulders, and then watching them turn your failure into a punchline for TikTok views. His response was swift and surgical. No angry tweets, no public statements. Just action. Every single Napoli-related post disappeared from his Instagram account. Photos of him celebrating goals at the Stadio Maradona, gone. Pictures with teammates after the title win. His agent Roberto Calenda released a statement. What happened today on Napoli's official profile on the TikTok platform is not acceptable. A video mocking Victor was first made public, but now belightedly a serious fact that causes very serious damage to the player and adds to the treatment that the boy is suffering in the last period between media trials and fake news. We reserve the right to take legal action and any useful initiative to protect Victor. Within 6 hours, Napoli had deleted the video and issued what can only be described as a panic mode apology, but the damage was already done. Screenshots had been saved. The story was out there. And suddenly, every major sports outlet in Europe was running headlines about the Osimhen controversy that had absolutely nothing to do with football. But this was just the beginning of a much bigger problem that would follow him everywhere he went. The backlash came from everywhere, and it came fast. Twitter exploded first. Hashtag Respect Osimhen started trending within hours, with Nigerian football fans leading the charge. But it wasn't just support. The internet did what the internet does best. It picked sides and went to war. One camp defended Osimhen's right to be upset. The other called him too sensitive and unprofessional for deleting his posts. Then the memes started. Osimhen's penalty miss got remixed into dozens of videos, each more brutal than the last. African football pages shared clips with captions like, "When your own club betrays you?" European fan accounts fired back with, "Millionaire footballer can't take a joke." The whole thing spiraled into something that had nothing to do with the original incident anymore. What made it worse was how personal the attacks became. Comment sections turned into battlegrounds about African players, European clubs, social media sensitivity, and everything in between. Osimhen's Instagram, despite removing the Napoli content, was flooded with messages ranging from heartfelt support to absolutely vicious trolling. Across sports media, former players and football analysts reacted to the situation, with several condemning SSC Napoli for their disrespectful social media post. But here's the part that really shows how insane this whole situation became. Other clubs started using it as ammunition. When transfer rumors heated up again, Rival fans would spam Osimhen's mentions with penalty miss. Opposition supporters in Serie A matches created banners referencing the incident. A moment of sporting failure had become a permanent stick to beat him with. His teammates at Napoli found themselves in impossible positions during interviews, support their striker, and implicitly criticize their own club's social media strategy, downplay the controversy and risk looking like they don't have his back. Every press conference became a minefield of questions that had nothing to do with the next match. The impact was obvious to everyone watching closely. If you're into breakdowns like this, tap on that subscribe button because this gets deeper. Osimhen's celebrations became more muted. His relationship with SSE Napoli off the pitch became a talking point, and his presence on the club's social media all but disappeared. From that moment on, every reaction, every interview, every gesture was watched more closely. What started as a penalty miss had evolved into a case study of how quickly modern football can cannibalize its own stars. But the real test was still ahead, and it was coming sooner than anyone expected. Because when January arrived, Osimhen would face the biggest stage in African football, and the whole continent would be watching. But something else had already changed, because for the first time, it wasn't just what happened on the pitch that shaped the story. It was what happened online. And while this situation started with a club post, somewhere else, another player was about to respond. Publicly. And this time, it wouldn't stay contained. At Manchester United, Jadon Sancho was about to take things even further. If you want to see how that unfolded, watch this